New South Wales are staring down their third consecutive series loss after Game 1 was decided 8 minutes in. And whether you think it was a send-off or not, that is the case. New South Wales had to win Game 1, and they didn't. So now we are here, and we are talking about this. Michael Maguire will have to go to Melbourne and win Game 2 before taking on a decider at Suncorp. And at very worst case, they're going to be going to Suncorp trying to avoid the sweep. Not beating around the bush, not since the 8-in-a-row dynasty team have we seen New South Wales in such a hole. And look, it is a shame that Game 1 ended up like Game 1 did. And the real shame is that Game 1 was in Sydney, the game that New South Wales had to win. And us losing Game 1, forcing pretty much a game we had to win to be at Suncorp, has cost us in both 22 and 23. And it's looking like we're going to have to do it in 24, but not before we have to go and win in Melbourne. But there was still a lot to like from New South Wales, obviously. I know brave is a word that I think, especially in rugby league, is tossed around way too much, because at the end of the day, while there were good signs from New South Wales, with just 12 men, we still lost. It's still 0-1, and we're still going to need a bloody miracle to try and pull off this absolute underdog story. But can New South Wales save the 2024 State of Origin series? Can we pull off the biggest State of Origin upset of all time? At least with the bookies, Queensland, get out of here with your 2020 rhetoric. Unfortunately for Michael Maguire, he's going to have to face a lot of questions, but the reality is we just don't know. We don't know what the game plan was, and we don't know how these guys would have played. I mean, poor Nico Hines, who is looking like the biggest punching bag right now. Unfortunately, the poor bloke had an extraordinary set of circumstances when he made his debut, having to defend at right centre, and then he had to do it again because we had no idea what was going to happen. A send-off in State of Origin, you have to kill someone to do that. And I guess Suoliti took matters into his own hands, trying to be the hottest man in rugby league. But unfortunately, it cost Nico Hines. He had to defend at right centre, and his kicking game wasn't that great. He went in with the calf injury, but again, everyone put a whole asterisk on that bloody game because we simply just don't know. Obviously, the first try is a bit concerning, but at the end of the day, we won't know, and unfortunately, we will never know. There's obviously going to be changes because there are some obvious ones, and we'll get to potential changes and problems I had on the whole, but everything there I can put an asterisk on. The one thing that I cannot put an asterisk on, and Madge Maguire, you were so lucky this is your first game, because if you were Brad Fittler right now, I would be going nuclear, and as a redhead, I might actually blow up. But Jake Trbojevic, 29 minutes as captain. I have never seen a State of Origin captain treated so bad since Kurt Gidley captained off the bench. But spoiler alert, Madge, you had a bit more luxuries than what you could have gone with. I don't know what the heck happened. I get it was 12 men. Don't you want the best defensive player in the entire competition on the field? Don't you want the guy you've got to lead the boys on the field when they've only got 12 men?
He's not mobile and he hasn't got good lateral speed.
Have you watched a game of Jake Trbojevic? I'm a Manly fan who watches Jake closer than any of you losers. Cameron Murray needs a rest. Victor Radley needs a rest. Mate, Jake Trbojevic has been playing 80 minutes in the middle, playing his guts out for Manly for 10 years. If there's anyone on that field who's not going to stop trying, who's not going to stop moving his bloody legs, it's the smartest defender. It's the best defender in rugby league. It's the bloody captain, the guy you've got in camp, instilling wisdom, instilling leadership, leading the team around, and you take him off the field. Who are the boys looking at? Isaiah Yeo. There, I dare question, and maybe I'm getting too much of a conspiracy theorist. Was Isaiah Yeo the real captain of this team? I dare say he was, and therefore did Michael Maguire want Isaiah Yeo playing 80 minutes and only named Jake as captain for a publicity stunt? If that's the case, then why bother? No one cares. A lot of people, as much as people love Jake, were talking about Isaiah Yeo to be captain anyway, because it does make sense on a level that he has been the premiership winning captain for 3 years. He has been on stage at the presentation lifting the trophy. And if you do that, then don't pick Jake and I won't question it, or pick Jake and don't make him captain and I wouldn't have a problem with it. But 29 minutes for your captain under the most intense, under the most impossible circumstances anyone is there is going to get the boys up and make them believe it's the bloody captain. It's Jake Trbojevic, and you left him on the bench with an assistant coach. You may as well have just chucked polo on him. People have claimed the leg speed thing is the reason as to why, and I get that Jake didn't have any attacking upside compared to some of the other players, especially the back rowers that got picked when we needed to come up with points in the later bit. But people saying it's mobile and the leg speed are an absolute joke, because Jake Trbojevic, while he won't bend the line, defensively at least, is no worse than Isaiah Yeo. In fact, I'd say he's probably better from a defensive standpoint, and you need that in Origin. What's the point of not having one guy out there who's going to tackle his ass off? Jake would have played 80 with a man down and still done a job, because while he may not be able to get there as quickly, if he gets a hold of him, he's still going down. Liam Martin, bless him, it was absolutely fantastic, but Ben Hunt ran straight through him. Jake probably only needed one chance, and he would have snapped him in half. Jake is so good, and he's so good at reading the game from a defensive standpoint. He would have got his positioning perfect. He would have got everyone else's positioning perfect. When we threw Olakau'atu, who's never played a minute in the middle of Origin with 12 men, Jake would have grabbed him and told him to move. He would have pushed the A defender over to make himself the A defender and pushed everyone across. Jake can read numbers. Jake knows where the ball is going. That's why he was named the captain. There are two sides to rugby league, and everyone loves attack. I love attack, but this is the best defensive player in the competition. This is one of the best defenders in State of Origin history. Jake has made so many game-winning plays with his defense, or match-defining plays with his defense, and we sat him on the pine for 50 minutes into the most impossible circumstances. They didn't have their captain. And again, maybe Isaiah Yeo was the captain and Jake was a publicity stunt. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I thought he was injured, so I was stressing not just for the Blues, but for Manly. But it turns out he's fine. Michael Maguire, you absolutely better redeem yourself, or there's a reason why you're going to be coaching in the Super League. Now, everything outside of that, I can forgive. Put a big asterisk on everything I say from here on out, because I genuinely think that everyone in that team deserves another chance. And while a lot of people in New South Wales especially are going to push back on the idea, because we did technically lose 38-10, I wouldn't mind if there were no changes. I wouldn't push back on it at all. I do think that they've had 10 days together, and that 10 days was honestly pretty much wasted. Whether, again, you agree or disagree with the send-off, it ruined everything for New South Wales especially. Even with the bench, I think that we could honestly really just drop one of the forwards. When Spencer Leniu, Olakau'atu, and Hudson Young only play 23 minutes each, you can afford to play two of them for a bit longer, honestly just 30 minutes each, and afford to have a utility on the bench. But again, it's extremely hard to be critical outside of the Jake Trbojevic thing, because we had 12 bloody players. But obviously, Suaalii is going to be a forced change, because he's going to be out for 4 weeks, and then of course we don't know who's going to get injured. There are even rumours that Nico did his calf during that game. But here are my changes. Like I said though, if Madge Maguire honestly believed in this side, even though he's an idiot for what he did with Jake, I would back that decision to put in the same team for game 2. But that's not me. These are the changes that I would make. And I don't think many will push back on the first one despite the Roosters fans. I think Dylan Edwards comes straight in. I'm so happy for Teddy. He got the farewell, especially at a core. While it was an awful game and he was probably one of our better players, especially in the first half, I do think that he had to have a man of the match performance, or New South Wales had to win for him to have any chance of staying in the team. Edwards did train with them for most of the week, and the game plan actually sort of suited what ended up being, because the New South Wales game plan got thrown out the window anyway, which I think really would have helped Teddy. I think Edwards comes straight back in. I think Mitchell Moses comes in for Nico Hines or Jerome Luai. I think Mitchell Moses is the 7, with Nathan Cleary still out, and I think he's likely to be out the entire State of Origin series. Even if it's maybe 50-50, it's a hammy, and Penrith are definitely not going to risk him for State of Origin. So I'd be bringing Mitchell Moses in for that kicking game pretty much. I know Nico had a big calf injury, but he really just didn't do much damage with the kick. And the one time he did, the poor bastard DCE just went, screw you, anything you could do, I could do better. However, at this point in time, I still wouldn't back Nico to be out of the squad entirely. In fact, at the very least, I'd have him 18th man, because spoiler alert, I am changing the bench. I wouldn't be opposed to Hines starting at 6, because I genuinely do think that that's the long-term halves pairing, Cleary at 7, Nico at 6. However, I did think Jerome Luai was by far and away the more impressive player out of the two. He did miss 9 tackles, but half of those were jams and just falling off and forcing the player back to the middle of the field. The same people who want Luai dropped are the same people who are absolutely giving Liam Martin and Angus Crichton their flowers, and they both missed 9 and 8 tackles between them each. I would keep the same starting forward pack, just maybe actually play the captain. I actually think, and I said it in the preview, that I would be playing Jake as many minutes as I could. Maybe a 65 minutes, give Spencer Lindy those 15 minutes for Jake, or if the game demands it, I'd be playing Jake 80. Obviously, it would look bad, but if this is Madge's plans for him, I mean, just make Isaiah Yeo captain. But even then, in my opinion, I just don't think Isaiah Yeo's up to it. That is absolutely ridiculous to say, and I agree that Isaiah Yeo is probably a top 3 player in the NRL, but he just hasn't delivered at Origin outside of 2021, and with most of those players, they were just riding the coattails of Tommy Turbo and Latrell Mitchell. Either way, I think out of that trio, Jake, McInnes, and Yeo, that one of them has to go. I'd be leaning towards Yeo, but I just don't think you can afford to have all 3 of them, because I think at least 2 of them are very similar players, and I think Jake and McInnes are very similar in defense. So I'd be dropping Isaiah personally out of the 3 to make way for Burton or Connor Watson. I also think that maybe you don't need Olukwatu and Hudson Young, like a lot of people said leading up to the game, which I think would be beautiful for a Hudson Young or a Mitch Barnett. But now Suaalii. Now this is the one that is actually going to have to be changed, and there's 3 names here. Now my pick originally, I don't know if he's going to be fit or not, was Katoni Staggs, so he would be my first choice. Crying on the left, Staggs comes in on the right. He's got the X factor, he's got the work rate that Madge is looking for, and most importantly, he's got that defense. He's got the X factor, he's got the big 3. Someone like Crichton, and poor Crichton didn't get it much because obviously 12 men, but someone Mitchy Moses or Nico Hines, if he's still playing, can just throw the ball to and make something happen. But I don't think Madge will go that route, and I'm surprised no one's talking about it. But this is my video, and that's the direction that I would be going. Now, there are 2 other options, and these are probably the ones that I think are going to be most talked about. The obvious one is Matty Burton comes in at left centre. You keep Crichton on the right. Crichton did such a good job when he went to right centre, completely locked down that edge, forced Queensland to come through the middle and attack the other edge. Now, I think Matty Burton on the left could do a fantastic job, and he did a fantastic job 2 years ago in this same scenario where we were down game 1 and needed to win game 2. So I think Matty Burton being in the squad definitely helps, and obviously his utility value doesn't mean much to Madge if he had him not even in the team. So I think Matty Burton is probably the safest option to put there at left centre and move Crichton to right. The final option is the wild card, and that is, of course, Trell Mitt. Now, unfortunately, Trell Mitt has had, dare to say, a horrible start to the season. He's nothing like the man he was in Vegas. Ever since then, he's fallen off a rugby league cliff. So I'd be making the personal challenge to him, and everyone else has said this, so probably it'd be falling on deaf ears. But Latrell Mitchell has to show me why he wants to play Origin. He has to go out there. He's got very easy fixtures. I think he gets to play the Titans this week, and they've just had the bye. So, Latrell Mitchell, show me with your attack, and more so, show me with your defense why you should be playing State of Origin. If you could come out and brain it for 2 weeks, I'd be putting him in, because we need to roll the dice. Like I said, this is going to be New South Wales' biggest underdog story since the biggest one 10 years ago. It's very hard to be critical of that game, but those are the quick fire changes I would make for the New South Wales Blues. But I have to preface this by saying that I wouldn't mind if Madge rolled out the same team, because I honestly had no idea how he was going to play it, and we had no idea how well that team would do. But ladies and gentlemen, let me know what's next for New South Wales. What is next for Michael Maguire? What changes would you make? Let me know in that comment section down below. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.